afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to come to listen to this presentation this afternoon. Here I'll be talking about the BC Water Use Reporting Centre online tool developed by the Okanagan Basin Water Board a number of years ago. And it's a tool created to assist water users in recording and monitoring their water use data on a frequent basis. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge my colleague Michelle Cook, who due to some work commitments was unable to make it to this presentation. And so she, being the project manager of the site and the real guru behind it all, she is the one that really can answer any of the tough questions that may not be able to be answered this afternoon. So please take note down of her contact information. I know she will be more than excited to hear any questions, comments, and queries that may result from this presentation. A bit of a presentation outline. We'll start off with a background of the project, where it began, how it started, and a bit of an overview of what the reporting center offers. Look at some project highlights of the last few years of it being implemented, and then look at some feedback from existing users. Then a reporting center walkthrough. So we'll just go through, got some screenshots, show you what the reporting center looks like, and give you a bit of a feel so that you're familiar with the program once you go to the site itself. And we'll finish off with some case studies of users that have used the program. Just a quick mention of our project partners. This initiative or project has only become possible through a coordination and collaboration of these project partners here, namely the Okanagan Basin Water Board. They're the ones that sparked this idea of creating a central location to record your water use. And then they've worked together with Spot Solutions, who's a software developer in Vancouver, and then together with the ministries, a variety of ministries listed here, have worked together to develop a program that is not only good for the water users themselves, but good for the ministry, and that is helpful to them in the long run. So a quick quote. This is really what sparked this initiative or got this idea rolling. And the government will require all water users to measure and report their water use. And this was presented in the Living Water Smart document published by the province of British Columbia a number of years ago. It's simple, it's free, it's secure, and it provides tracking and reporting. And with it being an internet-based solution or center, anywhere you have internet access, even in a location here, sitting at the end of the dock with your computer, you're able to enter your water use data or review reports, review graphs, and it just provides the convenience of anywhere you are with an internet access, you're able to access this program. So a bit of a project overview. First off, this is the website, bcwaterusereporting.ca. That is where you are able to register and log in and begin your water use reporting. It's an online reporting center, as I mentioned before. It improves the accuracy and timeliness of water use reports. Right now, it's my understanding that it is only a requirement of surface water users that they report their water use on an annual basis. And that's the minimum, that's all that's required. And so the idea that this software provides is that it's convenient and allows water users to report their water use on a monthly basis, or even more frequently, and therefore predict trends and see seasonal influences on their water use and such, so that they can make better management decisions moving forward. It makes reporting water use easier for water purveyors, in that it allows for bulk uploading of information through CSV or XML files, which are a common database file supported by Excel and many other databases, that you can take this file and upload it into the reporting center, and it'll populate your data automatically. And in a step ahead of that, they've provided ability for the program to integrate with SCADA systems so that information and water use data can be uploaded automatically to this website without any human or operator influence necessary. So here's a bit of a project timeline. We started off in 2009, where this initiative was created by the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and consultation began with the Okanagan water utilities, and then project advisory teams were created. Feedback was gathered from water utilities and BC ministries, and finally in March 2011, this online system was released to the Okanagan Valley as a pilot project. The idea behind that is that if they're going to release, before releasing this program to province and greater audience. Let's start with a smaller group of people, get feedback, and really refine it so that once it is released, it's fairly bug-free and fairly smooth going. And so the Okanagan Basin is the first pilot, and I'd like to mention that the Regional District of Nanaimo has taken on the second pilot project, and that will be beginning very shortly. So from March 2011, they continue to meet with Okanagan Basin water utilities. They had a water use reporting forms and print-off forms put into the program, and it's now continuing on even in 2013. They have got support and introducing new features all the time, and have integrated the provincial annual use reporting form into the software, and that's the form that's required by those surface water users to submit to the province on an annual basis. This program, if you have reported your water use throughout the year, you can, by click of a button, create this water use reporting form and send it into the province, and it's just one little function they've added to the program to assist water purveyors. Just another quote here from Conrad Price, the section head of the water allocation of BC Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources. He says, reporting use makes sense. You can't manage what you don't measure. And that's the whole objective here. Let's measure it, let's report it, let's see those trends earlier on rather than just looking back years at a time and making those management decisions on a more frequent basis. The top project highlights from this initiative that have been seen over the last few years. So it's year 2 of the pilot, and overall it's a success. We've had 16 consistent water users, of which there's about 25 registered, 16 are regularly using it within the Okanagan Valley. All 3 Okanagan regional districts are using it for their numerous water systems and are more than delighted with the results of the software. It prints the annual water use reporting form, as I mentioned. It has an enhanced data security, and this, I imagine, came from some concerns of the initial users that, hey, we're putting on our water use data here, how secure is it? Just the users wanting to make sure that their water use data is safe. And finally, the live basin reservoir map, we'll see this shortly, but essentially what this is a map of all the reservoirs in an area, and you can click on the reservoirs and it'll give you detail of the capacity, what the current water levels are, and how that measures against historical seasonal averages. Some other highlights, it's got some water use reports and bar graphs. We'll see some of those later, and so you can trend your water use by month and several years side by side and see, okay, how's my water utility functioning, and is water use trending upwards, downwards, and so on. Viewer accounts are available. This is a really neat part of the software. So these viewer accounts can be given to governments or consultants or anyone that's perhaps doing some work on your utility or needs access to data on a regular basis. They can be given a viewer account, which is authorized by the water purveyor, and that allows them to go online, search through all the data, pick out what they need, and collect it and integrate it into their reports. And this saves them having to bug staff and taking away time of digging through paper files to find out these water use data. The BC Water Use Reporting Centre has been integrated with the supply and demand study that was developed or undertaken by the Okanagan Basin Water Board in 2007, and which I think eventually finished in 2010. That study looked at water use for residential, industrial, agricultural, and has a variety of information that can be valuable to water users, and so they've integrated that into the BC Water Use Reporting Centre. There's media material online, so user guides, there's brochures, there's videos just providing information and how-to videos on how to operate the software. So here's a list of the current subscribed water utilities users. As you can see, there's a broad range of cities, irrigation districts, regional districts, some private utilities there as well as First Nations utilities. Numbers in brackets on the screen indicate the number of water systems under each regional district that are currently registered on the system. A quote here from Alistair Wardlaw, District of Summerland. He says, "It is worth the time to get familiar with the system, as it provides a convenient and secure location to store the data and have the ability to trend it once it is loaded, and it makes it easy to stay on track with the data entry. Overall, I am quite impressed with the usefulness of the system." So now I'll take you through some screenshots of the BC Water Use Reporting Center. Here's the website once again. Note that down so you can go back and see it at a later date, bcwaterusereporting.ca. This is the logon screen, username, password, very straightforward, very similar to Facebook and email and those sorts of things. Keep it simple. You'll see there at the bottom there's a request to participate button. If you click on that, a screen will pop up. You can enter your name and information, some just brief information about your water system, and you can click send email, and that'll be sent to Michelle, who will get in touch with you and arrange for your water system to be set up on the website. Once you've done that, you'll come to this screen, and this is the general tab. This is all the information that the center contains of your water system. We have the utility name, we have the office location, population served, area served, irrigated acres, all the information that would be helpful or you may have on file and is helpful for others that may be viewing the site to know about your system. And here we have an example from the West Bank First Nation showing their water license information. They have 4 water licenses, and you click on the water license that you're interested in, and it'll show up on the map, highlighted, shown as an X with a blue circle. And so this can be very helpful for those with viewer accounts that are accessing your account information that may not know where your surface water sources are or intakes, and it provides a geospatial reference to that in a very convenient way. Here's an example from the District of Peachland showing their water usage forms. This is an example from October 2012. On the left-hand side, you see surface water. It lists their surface water intakes, the quantity of volume used in that month. Next, we have the groundwater, and this shows the groundwater licenses, and again, the quantity of water taken or measured in the month of October. And then below that, there's the monthly total volume of water used, broken down into agriculture, residential, and industrial, if it is so measured by the utility, and you can enter that information there. And this is where the supply and demand study undertaken by the Okanagan Basin Water Board can be really helpful for users or utilities that don't use water meters, because that study helps to shows examples of communities and based on population and location on what the split of residential, industrial, and commercial water use could be, and therefore can allow those utilities to estimate how to break down the total water usage into those 3 categories. Another quote here. This is from a local water user utility in the Black Mountain Irrigation District by Bob Harasco, who's the chair of the Water Supply Association, vice chair, pardon me, and is also the administrator for the Black Mountain Irrigation District. And he says, the BC Water Use Reporting Center allows utilities to provide current water use data and access historic data for trending. And just as importantly, we are able to see what other water users in the valley are extracting, helping us to work together and manage our common water resource. So this talks to another great point of this Water Use Reporting Center, is not only can you see your data, but you can see the data of all other users in the valley. And that allows you to look at reservoir levels and get any information that might help you understand on a regional basis where our water sources are and what our capacities are, and how we, especially now coming into spring, how are we looking at going into summer? Are our water levels in the reservoirs at a sufficient quantity? Here's an example of the provincial water use form that needs to be submitted on an annual basis by surface water sources. Many of you will probably be familiar with this. But again, if you are recording your data on a regular basis, you're able to create this form automatically with the click of a button. Here's an example of some graphs that can be produced by the reporting center. This is an example of the city of Kelowna over 2009 to 2011. And we can see the water use fluctuating. Greatest in 2009, a little bit lower in 2010. And this is a bit more detailed example from the Black Mountain Irrigation District, showing monthly water use for the years of 2010, 2011, and 2012. You can see the impacts of irrigation on the water systems in this area during the summer months. You can see specifically in 2010 there was a substantial increase in water use over the months of May, June, July, and August. And so that could be a result of a variety of things, but for one could be it could have been a drier summer, and so more water was required by crops. Some water user examples. First, here we have the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen, who has produced a regional growth strategy in the past years and includes water usage from some of the larger water purveyors in the district. And so they were interested in looking for water use data for these four mentioned on the screen: the city of Penticton, district of Summerland, town of Oliver, and finally the town of Osoyoos. And much to their delight, all four of these users were using the BC Water Use Reporting Center, and so therefore were able, they were given permission by each of these users to access their viewer accounts and retrieve all the data that they needed for their regional growth strategy, not only once but on an ongoing basis. And again, and this would substantially reduce both their time in having to contact staff and dig up through paperwork, and also reduce the staff's time on each of these systems that are busy doing other maintenance or operational items. Some of the latest features: the live reservoir map, which I'll show you in a moment. Reservoir level recording, you're able to enter that into the system, as well as enhanced security. Talked about that before. Hydrogeometric stations. Your data from these hydrogeometric stations can be entered into the BC Water Use Reporting Center, and right now it's more of a storage. It's more storage of the data. It's not used for any particular analysis, but again, it just provides you with a more rounded database of your water use for your system. So this is an example of the California Data Exchange Center, their reservoir maps. As you can see here, the state of California, it's got the location in black dots showing the locations of the reservoirs, and then from those black dots we can see what the capacity or water levels are of each of those reservoirs, and compared that to historical averages. So here is what is one of the most recent additions to the center, is the live basin reservoir map. And this shows the reservoirs in the Okanagan Valley. I'll just pull up the Okanagan Lake. Here we can see that on December 3rd, 2012, the capacity was well over 25,000, and this was 90% of the capacity of the lake and 109% of the seasonal average of that time. Here's an example of the reservoir level recording center that was recently added. I did not expect you to see too much on the slide, but again, this just lists your reservoirs, lists the months and the information, the reservoir levels accordingly, and you can click on the graph icon there and it'll provide you with a graph showing the level in that reservoir over the months or years that the data has been entered into the system. Hydrogeometric stations is again an example of what it looks like on the website. Enter in your data there, the title, the file name of the database that's been uploaded that's associated with that hydrogeometric station, and as well as any other pertinent data that may be necessary. So finally, some options for the future. Looking to link the provincial wastewater return to this BC Water Use Reporting Center. So not only providing water supply, but also looking at your the wastewater production as a result. Create reservoir graph reports, so that's consistent with newspapers across the Okanagan Basin, and as well as news release bulletins, similar to those of the River Forecast Center's Snow Survey and Water Supply Bulletin. So that concludes the formal part of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.